Our next speaker, I'm really honored to present Barbara Lifton, our Assemblywoman, who just this past week received the Environmental Advocates, right? Legislator of the Year. Environmental Advocates Award for Legislator of the Year, specifically for her work on hydrofracking. And it's been true leadership, Barbara. We're just delighted that other people have recognized what we have known for years. So I don't think she needs any more introduction. Barbara Lifton, thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. You know, when they called me about a month ago, the Environmental Advocates called and said, you know, we want you to, accept this award. I said, couldn't we wait until we won something? It's a bit premature, but they said it's important to do these things and to be able to highlight the issue by doing an award. So I relented, and it's very nice, obviously. So I was asked to, I'm here, Jeanette queued me up here, what's going on in Albany. So I'm here to try to tell you what's going on in Albany. In relation to home rule especially, and we can talk about other things in the Q&A period. But I'll hope I can just quickly go through, many of you are probably familiar with the bill that I wrote on home rule, the bill I authored about a year and a half ago now, on home rule, allowing for municipalities to be able to keep their zoning in effect, keep their land use plans in effect, and either restrict gas drilling or to zone it out altogether. So let's see. I've got to warn you, I'm a little nervous. This is my first time doing a PowerPoint. Yes. What can I say? Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So some of you may know, home rule is a long tradition, I will say, in New York state law. It's part of our Constitution. Every local government shall have the power to adopt and amend local laws not inconsistent with the provisions of the state constitution or any general law relating to its property, affairs, or government. That's New York State, property, affairs, or government. So as long as local laws don't undercut or don't contradict state laws, then local government shall have appropriate home rule. So, you know, this is an issue that had been filtering around for the first year or so, and I'd been so busy trying to just deal with the whole issue that I hadn't stopped to try to do the research and figure out what we could or couldn't do on this. But finally, I was fortunate that this young attorney, Bill, some of you may know Bill Lesser, that served on the Ithaca Town Board. His son Jordan popped up one day, fresh out of Tulane Law School and looking for a job. So I said, good timing, bring Jordan aboard. And he did a lot of research on the case law on home rule and zoning and extraction industries. And at the end of that process, we drafted my bill, 3245. And, I think you heard about it when it was introduced and you're familiar with it. Basically, making clear, codifying what we believe is case law. With mining, another major extraction industry, there was case after case after case, court case after court case, and every court case just continually said, yes, locals control it, locals control it, locals control it, they can control placement, and in fact, they can ban it altogether. And so, based on that history of case law, and that finally got codified. Mining law got codified after many, many court cases. That got codified to say we still have home rule in this state. Locals control their land use and zoning and can make decisions about these things. So we took that law and said that's also true of gas drilling. There's no reason to say that we would push aside land use and planning in relation to gas drilling. And so my bill basically says that local government shall not be prevented from enacting or enforcing local zoning ordinances or laws which determine permissible uses in zoning districts. That's the bill I drafted about a year and a few months ago. So there it is. Codifies existing case law and home rule, allows local governments to use their local land use, and it can be prospectively. Even if they haven't done a comprehensive plan, even if they haven't done zoning, they can still do it prospectively and restrict or zone out or make land use plans that do not allow for gas drilling or restrict it. So talk about mining law, as opposed to, people say, well, state regulates gas drilling. Yes, they do regulate. State law regulates gas drilling, but to use zoning or land use is not the same as to regulate. That's not regulating the industry. Regulating is how you might drill, what chemicals you might use, issues around taxation. Those are the domain of the state. But land use and zoning are not the domain of New York State. We have a very strong history and tradition of home rule in this state. So to put that aside, in my view, and I think the view of many people, is to totally upend state law in an unacceptable way. Well, what happened with my bill? You all remember the thing about the Democrats controlled the Senate for one term, 2 years, and then we had a flip back to Republican control, remember? 2 years with an interesting situation with the Democrats in charge. And they lost control very quickly. But in that period, I had drafted my bill. We had a Democratic control of the Senate, and Senator Oppenheimer, Susie Oppenheimer from Westchester County, we went to her and said, would you be interested in picking up my bill? She said, yes, I'd be very interested in picking up this bill. So I had a majority sponsor, a member of the majority in the Senate on my bill. I thought, great, this is good news. Maybe we can get it through the Democratic Senate. Well, then, shortly thereafter, the Republicans took back the Senate, and that meant that this is, a little bit of inside baseball, but, and I think most of you know that, with major state law, it takes a majority sponsor to get a bill through, usually. Very unusual to have a minority member be the prime sponsor of major state law, and this is certainly a very important bill. So I had now a Democratic sponsor in my bill. But also, there was Republican co-sponsorship. Senator Seward, Senator Bonasek, and I don't know if there was a third or not. Maybe the two of them were on the Oppenheimer bill. So there we were in a Republican-controlled Senate, and we were hoping to work with Senator Seward and get him to pick up my bill and be the prime sponsor. Well, things went along for most of the session, and then at the end of session, Senator Oppenheimer said, I'll relinquish the bill. I'll let Senator Seward pick up this bill and be the prime sponsor in the Senate. He's been out there talking about it a lot and supporting it. Maybe we can get him to actually be the prime sponsor and be a majority member of the Senate and perhaps able to get something done on the bill. Well, at that point, Senator Seward decided he wasn't so comfortable with the bill, and he, in the last couple days of session, instead drafted a new bill, a different bill, and you have to have totally identical bills to get them through both houses and off to the governor's desk. So what are called uni-bills or companion bills. So now we no longer had a companion bill with a majority spot. I still had my bill with Susie Oppenheimer, with Senator Oppenheimer, but it wasn't going to pass the Senate. And plus, Dean Skelos, the majority leader of the Senate, had made it clear that they weren't going to be doing any gas drilling bills anyway. So all three bills, there were other bills. I said at the top, my bill passed the Assembly. My local control bill that I just explained to you passed the Assembly, as did two other major hydrofracking bills, a continuing moratorium, the Sweeney bill, and the bill that said all fracking fluid is hazardous waste. Both of those bills, all three of those bills passed the Assembly, but none of them got out of committee in the Senate this year. All three bills stuck in committee. So that gives you a sense of sort of the overall view of what's happening in Albany. So in the last couple days, Senator Seward, if I can put that back on for a moment, Senator Seward drafted a different bill, Senate Bill 5830, and hands me, brought a new bill last Tuesday. Everything's already shut down. No committees are meeting. We were told days earlier that no more meetings of the Environmental Conservation Committee. The place is shutting down. We're in the last 2 days of session. So I'm handed a bill and looked at it and scratch my head a little bit. One of my deficits is that I don't come from local governments, right? I never served in local government. So special use permits, someone's going to have to explain this to me. So and what this bill really meant. So basically, what he seemed to be doing was to have a bill that also said that local municipalities can ban drilling altogether, and they can also use special use permits. They could zone it out, but they could also allow a municipality to have what's called a special use permit, which is done with some regularity, I guess. I'll look to local government officials. It's something I think that all towns or cities have and use. And they would allow them to use that special use permit to drill and to place conditions. Usually a special use permit probably always has conditions on it. And these are the conditions. If a town used a special use permit, these are the conditions that would be placed on it. Talking about ingress and egress to public thoroughfares, routing of drilling and drilling-related transport vehicles, and requirements and conditions as specified in the permit issued by the department concerning setbacks from property boundaries and public something or other. We had to, that was all we could fit on that. So he delineates these restrictions on a special use permit, and it's not completely clear why it was done that way. It doesn't allow, for instance, some of the things that are left off that as possible restrictions have to do with wetlands, for instance, would be a restriction. Steep slope construction might be another restriction. There are more. Sorry? Not hearing. Okay, I thought someone was Phil. So anyway, it's a sort of a limited list of restrictions that one could put on a special use permit. So that's the essence of Seward's bill. Now, that is presumed in my bill. In my bill, you could also have, a town could use a special use permit. And if it were done that way from a town that wanted to restrict but not perhaps totally ban, they could also do a special use permit, but I wouldn't have put any restrictions on the conditions of that special use permit. So those are the two bills. And I guess I've sort of been clear about that. So what's next? As I say, this happened right at the end of session the last couple of days. So very few people were even paying attention to it. And I didn't get very quick feedback on it. I'm looking for discussion and feedback about this. I've got to decide, as I said, no bills went through the Senate this year. Now, not even any tiny little bills on hydrofracking. And so I'm in the position of saying, well, do I... And I took Seward's bill, I put it in, I introduced it in the Assembly. In fact, I was prepared to try to push it through, to go to the Speaker and say, we need to have another ENCON meeting, we need to have a rules meeting, I need to get this bill through. And then our council called the Senate and they said, no, we're not doing this bill. So the Senate wasn't going to do that bill either, clearly, so okay, we've got a little breathing time here, and we'll all talk about it and look at this and figure out, see what my constituents want me to do about this. So the choices are that I work with Senator Seward, I've got the bill, and we can talk about amending it or just trying to push it through and have people encourage the senator to try to get it through the Senate. Or people can say, we want your bill, and we're going to push the Senate to do it, to do the somewhat stronger bill. So that's where that all stands. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara. We are, as a legislator from the town of Dryden, which is, the first town to be sued because of our local zoning ordinance. We're looking forward to this passing, whether it's in the Seward's bill or your bill or some combination of the two. It really makes a tremendous difference to us that legislation exists. Perhaps also Senator Ball might be an ally. He's recently, Josh Fox took him to Pennsylvania this summer, and he had an epiphany. And Monday, he's actually having a press conference where he's going to be announcing. He's got his Property Owners Bill of Rights, which does include allowing local governments to enact or enforce laws and ordinances relating to oil and gas mining. So I think, I haven't looked at the details, but that's a possibility there. He is, on Monday, going to demand that Governor Cuomo immediately tour Pennsylvania to see firsthand the devastation. My own experience with the governor, unless it's his idea, he's not going to do it. So anyway, good luck to Senator Ball. I wanted to mention also that the next speaker has talked about that Senator Ball could point out that the governor could have according to the S guys, could have a drilling pad 100 feet from the governor's mansion. As a matter of fact. So maybe that's the first place to start.